Sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Hello, hi everyone. This is Jasmine, and thank you for watching Once in Orphan. So, I'm always speaking with people about their adoption story. And then in the comments last week, or whenever it was, one of you were like, are we going to ever get your story? And I was like, not a bad idea. So, here I am to tell y'all my adoption story. So somewhere back in, no, I'm just kidding. So my adoption story started back in 1978 when I was born. Shout out to all the 70s babies. And my birth mother was just, she was strung out. She had a drug addiction, right? So, I mean, when you have a choice of, do I live this life of drugs and partying, or am I going to do the right thing, give it up, and be the person I was meant to be? Yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and party. So that was her choice, and that's what she did. So I was given up. I was placed for adoption. I remained in the hospital for 10 days until my parents picked me up. Now, what led her to drugs? I have no idea. I know that everyone has a story. I get that. I realize that. And I had a good life growing up. So there was never room for judgment, never room for resentment, hate, anger. But there was always that curiosity, always that curiosity. So that curiosity remains and still remains. Now, my mother had to talk with me when I was about 10 years old, give or take. But even when my mom sat me down to have the talk about my adoption, I had already known. It was one of those, do you know you're adopted? And I was like, well, yeah. So in my mind, I didn't realize why she felt the need to have the talk with me because I had already known. But me finding out was through other conversations and not the talk of that mom and dad should have had with me. When my mom told me, I realized my dad could have gone on forever without telling me because his response was, what did you tell her for? And my mom, rightfully so, she said, because she needs to know. Part of the reason why she wanted me to know is because my biological brother grew up in the same town for a certain amount of years before his family relocated. But you're growing up in a small suburban town, you're riding your bikes everywhere. Very likely that your first kiss could be your brother's. Say what? Yo, it was crazy, right? So but yeah, so that's why mom had to talk with me. And oddly, she had the adoption talk, never had the talk of the birds and the bees. The story gets crazy. Not real crazy, but it just is wild. So, when you look at the fact that, oh shoot, I know I was placed for adoption, but I didn't know I got a brother who's right around here. You kind of go on this scavenger hunt. Oh, I gotta find him. And it never happened. Until in 2009, I was still a resident of New York, but I moved to Atlanta that year. And it was one of those things where we pulled out the old suitcase. Y'all mama got that old suitcase, or maybe she just slid the stuff under the mattress. Either way, we all know where we can find those personal documents, right? Mine was in the suitcase. Pull that out, scratch off some old whiteout from 1978, 79, or whatever, and boom. I'm like, oh shoot. After all these years, I learned my biological mother's first name. Let me explain something to y'all. This is why the adoption laws are so jacked up because not only do they not believe in preserving the family, but the fact that I can grow up 20 minutes away from a biological family and not know who they are. I grew up in Nassau County, Long Island, but Brooklyn is seriously 15, 20 minutes away. It's not off the earth. It's right there. How did I manage not to run into her in all these years? Well, I'm from Long Island. My mother is from Brooklyn. So it's not like I hung out in Long Island as a child. But even when I became an adult, I did nothing. So oddly, my biological mother got clean in 1996. That year I graduated high school. So I was turning 18 that year. And my brother, who's 2 years older than me, her drug addiction was before him, which tells me her time of being on drugs lasted 20 years or longer. Baby, I don't want to live like that. I just don't. But I've also never had anything that would lead me to a life where I'm so traumatized. This is the only way that I can cope. Because my mama had us down at the church house, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we didn't even have room for smoking and drinking crack, heroin or whatever. We just didn't have time for that. Not unless you were going to be down at the church house, making it do what it do. But we didn't have that. Still no judgment. At some point in time, we have to find humor in all of this, right? So back to what I was saying in 2009, scratch off this whiteout from this old paper that's nearly 30 years old. I learned her first name. I did what anyone else would do. I went straight to the internet like, oh, shoot. This is her. Found a number. Didn't get it. This could have been like on a Wednesday. Didn't get an answer. I think I called her again on a Thursday. Didn't get an answer. And then Friday. So remember what I said a moment ago? We were down at the church house all the time. I was leaving praise team rehearsal. And I said, well, let me just try now. It was like 10 o'clock. I was like, good chance I can get cursed out. But let me just see. I called her. She answered. Blew my mind. Because off the bat, I knew, I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like, this is the voice of the woman who carried and birthed me. This is, in fact, my birthing person. And so it was wild because I was like, okay, what should I say when she answered? So I told her who I was. I said, hey, my name is Jasmine. I'm in search of my biological mother. The only thing that I know is that her name is, and I'm wondering if that's you. And even in her lying, I was like, oh, shoot, this is her. So, that phone call lasted maybe a minute. She was just like, let me tell you exactly what she said. I said, hello, may I speak to? And she said, this is she. I said, hi, miss. My name is Jasmine. This phone call is going to come strange. I was adopted at birth and I am in search of my biological mother. The only thing that I know is that her name is, and I'm wondering if that's you. And she said, I don't think so. Lies you tell. But I knew she was lying. And I wasn't mad. I'm 30 years old at the time. This phone call comes after 30 years. It'll blow your mind. So, and I said, okay. And I said, are you sure? She said, I'm pretty sure. I said, okay, I'm sorry to bother you. So for me, I couldn't even wait to get home. I got home and I was like, yo, mommy, I spoke to her. My mother was like, you spoke to who? So I was like, I spoke to her. My mom was like, well, what did she say? And I repeated the conversation and she was like, so why do you think that's her? And I was like, it's her. She asked, you think so? And I was like, mommy, it's her. Nothing was going to make me believe that wasn't her. And I was right. So the following year, after becoming a mom myself, I had wrote her a letter, and she replied to the letter. She actually first called from the same number I called the year prior. So I'm on the couch, I'm looking at this number, and I'm like, who is this? But the number looked familiar. It was super strange. And she left me a message. She said, hi, Jasmine. This is so-and-so. I received your letter, and I'm going to write another letter back. I'm going to write a letter back to you, and I'm dropping that in the mail tomorrow. And I was like, oh, it's lit. Because I was like, this is crazy. This is the same number that I called the year before. Turned out to be her. She was just like, that phone call last year came out the blue for me. So, yeah, I didn't know how to respond. I'm guessing she didn't, you know. And it was just always that thing, like, as a mother, first of all, being a mother is like super, super, super bomb. Just in case y'all don't know, if you're not a mother yet, or even if you know, want to be a mother. But being a mother, or don't want to be a mother, but being a mother is like so, so, so dope. I have 2 kids. They're my lifeline. Super, super, super dope. And so in my mind, I'm always thinking about being there for my kids, because that's just like a natural maternal instinct. Like, you just know you have to do right and be there for your kids. But again, I didn't experience a certain level of trauma that she may have. So, when when she finally, contacted me, we remained in touch for 11 years until she passed away 3 years ago. And when she passed away, I didn't grieve her death. It was really odd. But then what I thought about recently was I could have likely grieved her loss at birth, because that was when I first lost her. So, yeah, very possible, you know. Now, my father, who passed away, my adopted father, who passed away a little more than 20 years ago, there's every once in a while, there's still a meltdown. Like, I miss my dude. And he was definitely my dude. He was a father. He was a real father. My mom is still living, super dope. If y'all know me, y'all know my mom got it going on. If y'all know me, y'all know my mom is super, super, super dope. She and my dad had 5 kids, adopted 3, and fostered 40, give or take, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more. But I think I can definitely count 40. So, that's my adoption story. So I do DNA. This is where I need y'all's help. And I'm gonna just keep it a buck, because I need y'all to help me find my father. So let me tell y'all how it worked, right? So in 2018, I did Ancestry. And because, hold on, off topic just for a second, because I keep feeling the buttons on my teeth, y'all probably can see it. And I'm getting Invisalign treatment. My words are just coming out all jacked up. So just know that my English is a little better than this. But if you catch a word that's like, what? It's this is why. So anyway, in 2018, I did Ancestry. Oh, let me go back. So when I met my mother, of course, I have questions like about my siblings from her and about my biological father. She named 2 other siblings that I did not know. One died as a baby, who was her second child. I was child number 4. And then there's a brother younger than me. I want y'all to help me find him too. So it was just weird, because those are 2 siblings I didn't even know about. But so I asked her who was my biological father, and she gave me a name. But the same feeling I had when she told me that I had the wrong number that time was the same feeling I had when she gave me this name. I was like, she's lying. And I always felt like either she was lying or she didn't know. So I did Ancestry in 2018. And I'm coming up as second cousins with all of these Hollands and Franklins. Now, these are the surnames of my father, or my possible surnames of my biological father. He was either a Holland or a Franklin, or he comes from a woman or a man who was either a Holland or a Franklin. There's some relation there. There's some connection. And they're from like the Virginia area, Virginia, Ohio. On Ancestry, my closest DNA connection is a Franklin. And she's a resident of Ohio. So, she's probably my second cousin. But at some point in time, whomever my biological father is, he's a relative of this Franklin woman. And at some point in time, he put his thing inside my mother's thing. And I was conceived. So I even wonder if he knows about me. So if y'all know any Hollands or Franklins throughout Virginia and Ohio, maybe his mother, aunt, grandmother, or what have you lived in New York at some point in time, holla at me. Let me know. Because you could be my brother or my sister and be like, what? Wild, right? Because some of y'all out there have a brother and a sister y'all don't even know. And I, for a fact, am probably a sister y'all don't even know. Because I just hate to believe that he conceived me and no others. Yeah, there's some of y'all out there. But even if not, for a fact, some of y'all are my cousins. So I want y'all to help me. So if y'all know a Holland or a Franklin who has some roots between Ohio and Virginia and who probably has something, I don't even know if he ever lived in New York. He could have just been passing through. He could have very well just been passing through. And who knows? Maybe back in the day, mom was a PYT. They made it do what it do. And surprise, 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 here I am. So, yeah, so that's my adoption story. My biological mother and I had a really cool relationship until her passing. My biological father, y'all know who he is. I don't, but y'all gonna let me know. So, yeah, that's how it started. And then I grew up in this large family. Again, my parents had 5 children before me, making me baby number 6. And yeah, we just grew up close knit family. You know, over time, life does change. People do go their separate ways. But at the end of the day, your family is who they are. But when you create your own family, or even when you create a family outside of your husband and children, or your wife and your children, like my girlfriends, they already know, though they're my sisters. No doubt about it. If you don't like it, I don't care. We have to learn how to not live in a place of appeasing people. And I'm not there. I'm not in a place where I'm going to please people to avoid your feelings getting hurt. First of all, if I say something, your feelings shouldn't be hurt, because this is my story. And no one is going to tell my story like me. So we all have a story. I'm sharing my story with you. And just know that, you don't have to be ashamed of your story. I was for a very, very, very long time, because me admitting to being adopted was me admitting to my mother not wanting me. Who wants that feeling? Who wants to grow up knowing that my mother didn't even want me? Y'all know that video? Your mother smoked crack pipe, something like that. Whatever it is. I imagine my life being the little girl in the circle had I not been given up for adoption. And I don't know what it's like to watch a parent on drugs. My mother's a church mother. She's a church mother. That's the crazy thing. So whether she's your mom, biological mom, foster mom, adoptive mom, grandmom, godmother, neighborhood mom, church mother, like, I think the only thing my mother knew was to just be a mother, and a wife too, because she held my daddy down until his last breath, for a fact. And so I tried to mimic her behavior. That don't mean I always get it right, because as humans, that's not possible. And she didn't even always get it right. She still won't always get it right. Love you, mama, in case you see this. But we're human. We don't always get it right. But yeah, her kids allowed me to be a part of the family, making me baby number 6. And I'm trying to think what else. Is there anything from my story that I did not include? I think that's it. But I'm serious. I really do want y'all's help. So I want y'all to get on Instagram. If you don't follow me, you can still holler at me in my DM and just be like, oh, Jazz, we might be cousins. Oh, so now, and then with these Hollands, Franklins, there's also like the Paynes, Payne. There's also the Lovings. And this is going back some generations. I know, I don't even know if that is still a popular surname, but I know Franklin is, Holland, Paynes, but we are biologically related. Whoever y'all are, I'm out here. And not trying to cause any trouble. I promise you I'm not. Because I still had a daddy who I will only consider my father. Now, in the event my biological father never knew about me, I guess there's room to, for a relationship to grow. I hope your kids can understand. I hope your wife can understand. If you're still out there, I don't know. But what else? Am I leaving anything out? I mean, this should have been live because then y'all could have asked me, right? But I think that's everything, you know. Oh, and I missed that I didn't tell you. Well, I told y'all I did say that I'm from Long Island. I was born in Brooklyn. So that's where my biological mother was. So if in fact my bio dad has some New York connection, he could likely be from the boroughs, New York, Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, Staten Island, what have you, even Manhattan. Because, when we watch movies, the 70s was the 70s was, 70s was popping. Probably a little too much because folks out there just making it do what it do. But even if we really want to be honest, the same demons that were there back in the 70s are the same demons here today. I can absolutely at any moment think to myself, let me go smoke some crack. But why would I do something so crazy? I see the crackheads on the street. Baby, they out their minds. I'm trying to preserve what brain cells I have. So crack ain't it for me. I love being a mother. So that's my adoption story. And if I left anything out, or if y'all have any particular questions, let me know. But y'all Hollands and y'all Franklins who are rooted between Ohio and Virginia and they made a stop in New York for some reason, hop on Instagram at Place Fostered Adopted. Slide in my DM. And any information you provide can remain anonymous because I won't tell. But just take a DNA so we can prove we're sisters. That would be super, super, super dope. Or siblings, or cousins, or if in fact you are my father or Big Mama. I'm happy to find out that I have more relatives out there. So anyway, y'all, that's my story. I think that's everything. And if not, let me know if y'all want to know anything.
Sounds right.
Talk to y'all soon. Peace.
Sounds right.